Hi there, good morning. If you're watching in the United Kingdom, my name is Jamie Breeze. This is the Biz Live. We're sponsored. In fact, all of the season is sponsored by Yumo Finance. So as always, a big shout out to Mark Watts and the team there. Thank you very much indeed. And Mark will be joining us towards the end of the show today. We are now live on LinkedIn. We are accredited to stream live to the world, or to a subset of my followers and connections, and our speakers as well. Our very special guest today is the marketing expert, board level advisor, CEO, COO. We'll tell you much more shortly. His name is Mr. Will Ghali, and he will be joining us in a few minutes' time. You are watching the Biz Live. My name is Jamie Breeze. Stay tuned. Come on in. It's a live show. Please introduce yourself into the chat. Let us know what you do, where you're coming in from, which country you're in, and we'll see you in about 30 seconds' time. Okay, so as I mentioned, this is a live show. It's a new feature which has been granted to us. They called it a golden ticket. I agree. We are streaming live to LinkedIn, and this is our 7th episode. The show, as you know, is called The Biz Live. It's a combination of a informative networking event, a live broadcast, and then straight away it will also be reposted to the LinkedIn platform directly after we finish going live. So you can watch it again and continue to comment. Please do introduce yourself even, I love live, into the chat. A bit of alliteration today. Please do introduce yourself into the chat. I think I need another coffee. Do you like my mugs? Lovely. Good stuff. So let us know where you are coming in from, what you do in your business. Please say hello. And most importantly of all, please have a think about the talking point and the theme, which my colleague Sarah will tell you about. Put whatever you want up on the chat, and also do ask questions of our very special guest speaker, who I will introduce you to in just a couple of minutes' time. So please give a big thumbs up, or if you can see in the chat on LinkedIn, if you're watching on YouTube as well, there's a little hand with a little red heart on it. Please welcome my friend, my colleague, co-producer and co-host Sarah Brooks. Hello there, Sarah Brooks. Good morning to you.
Good morning to you, Jamie. Feels like a good week, this one, doesn't it?
It does. There's a touch of sunshine here, and I'm very happy to say that we are not in the studio today. We are safe, socially distancing and broadcasting from another place. Let's leave it at that. I'm at home. I think you are too. So tell us, what's our theme for today for our viewers and those who are taking part to start telling us about?
Well, I think we're going to have some fun today with our theme of brands. And obviously we've got our brand guru waiting in the wings, Will Ghali. I found this simple definition of a brand as being a name given to a product or company such that it takes on an identity by itself. So I think that kind of sums it up. But obviously we're going to dive into all of that and find out a lot more later. It's kind of like a personality, isn't it? Of a product or a company, a list of its attributes, making it distinctive from a sea of competition. So lots of things to get our teeth into there.
We have a talking point, as always. This is episode number 7. We're used to it now. What's the talking point that our viewers and listeners and those on LinkedIn can start to chime in and offer us a point of view about, or an opinion?
Well, we're asking today, what are your go-to brands? Which brands do you have faith in? I've just ordered some walking boots, Jamie, and I know that you're into walking. And
sorry to hear that.
I've certainly been doing a lot of it recently. I'm looking for comfort. I'm looking for quality. So what brand do you think I went for?
No, well, it won't be. Could it be Hunters? I know you like premium things. You treat yourself. Is it Hunters?
It isn't. On this particular occasion, I've gone for Timberland. They're comfortable, they're durable, they're stylish. So they're just one click away, and they're winging their way to me right now because that's what I went for. That's the thing that sprang to my head. So that's the power of brands. It's something that you think of without even knowing. You know, it's the first thing that sort of comes to your mind. So our talking point today is, what is your favorite brand and why? Let the shameless plugging begin.
Excellent, good stuff. And we want people to sort of chime on in. This is very much an interactive show, as you know. And if you've taken part before, you will know that it's a great opportunity to sort of let people know a little bit about what you do. And here we go. He hasn't missed the show. A former mayor, a businessman of a leader of a £65 million company. I know because I looked at the company accounts recently. Significant enterprise. Congratulations, Ian. You've made it to the 7th show. Thank you for finding time in your busy day when you're running a university or a college. And there's Evo's very own Andrea Sexton saying hi everyone, and she also runs a PR company. Alison Woodhead there is saying good morning all, and you are indeed a managing consultant. Also worked as a marketing director, I think, for many years, nearly a decade at one of the UK's top law firms. So it's lovely to have you here. Some of you I know, some of you I don't. If I don't know you, a big welcome from myself and Sarah and all the team here at the Biz Live. And of course, our guest today is a brand expert. So I would like to say one last thing. Evo is the mothership. It's the company which effectively owns the Biz Live. It's the thing which kind of drives us every day when we have online events. There's usually 1, 2, or even 3 different meetings. We're based primarily in the southwest of England and in Wales, in the UK. And what we do, we meet online. There's a community, usually an hour and a half, usually in the mornings, often in the lunch times. And if you're interested in finding out more, then drop a message, because Sarah, as usual, is going to be moderating the chat. She can let you know about our website. And I would like to invite you, or we would like to invite you to come along to one of our Evo networking events. It's free to attend if it's your first time to one of our online meetings. And since the UK lockdown started in March, we've had, I think it's 236, maybe 238 different online meetings. We're opening a new group. In fact, if you know me and you're on LinkedIn, you'll see that I posted just an hour ago a certificate of incorporation for a brand new limited company. It's called Evo Ultra Limited. I've teamed up with my friend Sarah here, colleague Sarah, consulting with a very dear friend of mine, Paul Burden. And the first group is going to be led by General Sir Peter Wall. He is the co-founder and CEO of a consultancy, a global consultancy called Amicus, and he was also the former chief of the general staff, i.e. the head of the British Army. So he's a leader of leaders. And if you are a CEO and if your turnover is 5 million plus and you're interested in finding out more, it is primarily invite only, but we're open to inquiries. So drop us a message, and Sarah, who's working on this new endeavor with me, will tell you more. So we're going to bring in Will Ghali, but before I introduce him, I would like to say once again a big shout out to Mark and the team at Yumo Finance. We wouldn't be doing this show without you. Thank you very much indeed. Okay, so our guest today is still an Evo member. He's just about to join a new company, so will be hanging up his gloves, so to speak, for a while as he takes on the leadership of a significant enterprise in the city of Bristol in the United Kingdom. And I can tell you about that, but we'll thread that into the chat. Previously, Will, our guest today, has had a background in marketing and leadership. There's so many aspects to Will. I'll let him tell you about some of those roles. But needless to say, he has been the marketing director at Pepsico. He worked with brands such as Danone baby food. He was the COO of Pukka Herbs, which of course makes those famous Pukka teas, which you see in posh shops everywhere, and it's very nice indeed. Ain't that right, Sarah?
Yeah.
And so much more. So please give a lovely heart, a thumbs up. If you're in the LinkedIn, give us a thumbs up, and please say a big welcome in the chat to our special guest today, Will Ghali. And if you've got questions, please pop them in, because Sarah will be bringing them in to the show. Ladies and gentlemen, Will Ghali. I feel that I am on brand today with our new computer graphics. Do you like them?
They're lovely. Thank you, Jamie, for that lovely introduction. Very kind of you.
It's an absolute pleasure. I've got to know, like, and trust, as they sometimes say in business networking, as you've been a member of good standing and of this Evo network. But now there are new and exciting things awaiting you, and it seems to be a pattern throughout your life. But I'd like to use the next 50 minutes to discover a bit about who Will is, a bit about your past, the present, and of course your future. And then, subject to time, we're going to be asking a few questions from the chat. So once again, please do pop those questions into the chat for our guest today, Will. So Will, what was the epiphany? How did you start out? Were you always born to be in marketing, or did you start in a completely different direction? What's the background? I honestly don't know.
No, I started in marketing, so I did a business degree at Warwick, and there were various modules or various courses that you attend, and so I attended economics and finance, etc. And the marketing was really what caught my eye, and I was interested in how people choose brands. Why? Let's say washing powder. Some people buy Persil, other people buy Ariel, and both get your clothes clean. And what makes people buy one brand rather than another? And that's really the emotional connection. Sarah talked about the definition of a brand at the start of the program, and that was a good definition. Another one is a brand is how a product makes you feel. So really, how a product makes you feel. So there are lots of products out there. And brands go beyond the product benefit, and they give you an emotional benefit, as they say, which is how it makes you feel. So, also what you're saying about yourself when you choose brand A over brand B. So I was interested in that, and I took sort of more marketing modules, and then I joined Unilever as a graduate trainee in marketing.
As you do, one of the world's biggest companies.
As a graduate trainee in 1992, which gives away my age. Those who want to make that calculation. So that's how I started off. I was interested in consumer psychology and what makes people, pick between two products that functionally do the same thing, but want to buy a brand that's, what makes them pick a brand.
So before I interrupted you, you said you were a graduate trainee. Is that one of the key routes still, do you think, in such prestigious firms such as Unilever?
Yes, I mean, I think the big corporates, Unilever, Procter and Gamble, etc., have various graduate entry programs, and they take finance graduates, marketing graduates, etc. And I think it's a really good place to start, because you're doing a job, you're doing a proper job, you're responsible for a brand, but you're also getting lots of training. So you're getting training in in the theory of brands, and some of the principles that I've applied, in the various roles that I've held, have all come from some of those principles that I learned early on in my career from places like Unilever, in terms of understanding what you stand for as a brand and being true to that. We're going to talk about successful brands today. Successful brands are true to what they stand for, and making sure that you're clear on what you stand for. You're clear on who you're targeting, because you can't be all things to all people. So making sure that you're clear as to who you're going after, and then being consistent with that. So in your communications, in the way you behave, in the innovation you put to market, etc., you're consistent with that. So that's one of the principles.
I want to get to the meat and potatoes of your experience before maybe I ask some questions, ask your advice, actually, I think, on behalf of our viewers and those taking part. I mentioned that when I was introducing you, you've had this role. I mean, there's so many other things you've done as well, from being a COO to a CEO. Perhaps we'll come to that in a moment, because that's somewhat different than being a marketing director. Now, PepsiCo, obviously, for those who don't know, that's obviously the brand Pepsi, but so many other things. And if I certainly have looked into the history of the Coca-Cola Pepsi Wars, the Cola Wars as they were known, and there's whole documentaries and studies about it, and how PepsiCo was considered the underdog for a number of years. Though it seemed, I had no idea that Pepsi actually formed not soon after Pemberton founded the Coca-Cola company in the turn of the last century. So what was it like going on to become a marketing director of a global brand with such 100 years heritage at that point, almost 100 years?
So I became marketing director of Tropicana. So PepsiCo is a portfolio of brands. So they've got Pepsi, the carbonated soft drink, Quaker Oats, Tropicana, and Walker's Crisps. And because of the size of those brands, each of those brands in the UK have a marketing director and a business unit. So I was the marketing director for the juice business for Tropicana, and it was great. It was great joining that big business that's got capability and has got resources and one sales force that can sell product in a very strong way to all the big retailers. And Tropicana was the brand that I was looking after. I was there from 2004 to 2007. Tropicana at the time was a premium chilled juice brand, mainly focused on orange juice, and the challenge really was, how do you explode that brand and grow it massively and get it beyond just being an orange juice brand. So we had a kind of a 3-year strategy. I don't know if you want me to talk about what I did at Tropicana or just talk about what
I would love to, because only yesterday or the day before did I discover the astonishing success that you had as part of a team, of course, but as the leader of that brand in marketing, helping bring it from a 150 million to 300 million turnover. Is that right, in revenue?
That's right. Yeah. So my brief.
How did that happen? How do you what did you do to double the revenue of that brand?
So my brief sort of back in 2004 was kind of double it in 3 years. So let's work out a 3-year plan to grow the business. And when we started off by focusing on the core, and the core, as I said, was orange juice, and making sure that we really understand who the consumer is and what the brand stands for, and then making sure that we own that space. So we came to a clear definition of the brand, which was natural, healthy, pleasure. So everything that Tropicana did had to be natural, healthy, and pleasurable. And an orange juice, we said, okay, well, what's the core occasion of breakfast? What's the core occasion for drinking orange juice? And it was breakfast. So I say, well, let's own breakfast. Let's make sort of breakfast without Tropicana not a proper breakfast. So we looked at where the best breakfasts are served and where people are quite discerning in terms of their choices. And we found New York. And we said, okay, well, let's set our advert in New York and create an ad called Breakfast in New York, where people have got huge choice of eggs, how they have their eggs, how they have their bagels, how they have their coffee. But when it comes to orange juice, there's only one juice preferred by far, and that's Tropicana. And that campaign ran, and we sponsored the Sunday Times. And we really understood our core consumer, who we sort of gave them the title of healthy, wealthy, and wise. So they were interested in health, they were affluent, and wise as in you couldn't pull the wool over their eyes. So you had to be very authentic and very true to what you stood for as a brand. And as I said, natural, healthy, pleasure was what we stood for. So what we did in a nutshell is a 3-year plan. Year 1 was about owning orange juice and owning the breakfast occasion. Year 2 was then expanding into other fruit juices. So we launched orange and mango, blueberry, pomegranate, expanded the range. And then year 3 was getting into juice drinks. So we did a juice and water, a carbonated juice and water for teenagers and young people, and then a kids juice and water to compete with the likes of Robinson's fruit juice. So really it's about kind of defending the core, extending into adjacent territory, and then expanding the brand and stretching it into territories that are right for the brand and are consistent with what you stand for as a brand. Then it all comes back to 2 sort of essential things. 1, be clear what you stand for. 2, be clear who you're targeting. And then the rest becomes much easier when you've done that. And clearly there was lots of distribution growth. So we got into more outlets, more shops, introduced new pack sizes. But that's all part and parcel of managing an FMCG brand, a fast-moving consumer goods brand.
So you reached this sort of 300 million in revenue. So you doubled the revenue. You helped as part of the team to deliver that incredible growth over a 3-year period. And it's quite extraordinary for me to hear from the horse's mouth, so to speak, that a company has a 3-year marketing plan. I mean, I guess they do. They have a 3-year, forecast, I guess, and the marketing plan's part of that. But I suppose that it's tremendously important to be thinking ahead like that. And yeah, that's really that's real food for thought there. Yeah.
Most brands I've worked on, or most businesses, have some do a 3-year plan, some do a 5-year plan. But I think it's really important to know where you're going, because it takes time to establish, and I think you have to be credible. So when you enter a particular segment, you have to be credible in that segment. So you have to establish your credentials first, and then you can innovate and stretch around that.
So Cobra Beer was another company. That was a separate company, if I'm right. Mm-hmm. Tell us about how you worked with Cobra Beer and what your brief was, and when you were working there and what you did.
Cobra was, so I went from Pepsico to Cobra. So having worked for some big corporates for a while, Unilever, Reckitt Benckiser, and then Pepsico, I was tempted to go into a small brand and really sort of make a bigger difference. So I joined Cobra in 2007, and the brief there was, how do we take Cobra from being a curry beer to a premium world lager, which is quite an interesting challenge. The brand that's very entrenched as being a curry beer, and you're trying to kind of make it credible and compete with the likes of San Miguel and Peroni and other premium lager brands. So the first thing was to look at the consumer segments, look who drinks what lagers, to try and find out who drinks premium lagers. And they're sort of young, affluent men, tend to be sort of in their 20s and 30s, who want to make a statement by the choice of lager that they buy. The second thing was really understanding what Cobra was all about, and Cobra, the essence of Cobra, as we defined it, was effortless exotic adventure, as we called it. So, and effortless was to do with the fact that it was less fizzy, and actually that links to a consumer insight and a product insight, which is the product itself is less gassy, and because it's less gassy, it goes with food, with curry, and it doesn't bloat you. So that really important insight. We said, well, where could that insight be relevant beyond curry? So is that insight relevant in a pub? And of course it is, because people drink 2 or 3 pints and then they start to feel bloated with normal lager. So the difference with Cobra is it was less bloating. So we said, well, that insight of a lager that doesn't bloat you, or a beer that doesn't bloat you, is really relevant for a pub session. So we came up with the idea of less gas, better banter. And less gas, better banter was all about when you're not feeling bloated because you've drunk lots of lager, the banter flows. And we teamed up with the TV channel Dave, which at the time was their slogan was the home of witty banter, and we did sponsorship on that, and we told the retailers that we were sponsoring Dave, the TV channel, and that helped raise awareness. And also we put Cobra in surprising situations where people wouldn't expect to see Cobra. So we did sampling at the Goodwood Festival of Speed, Henley Regatta, Wimbledon, again, places where our consumers would hang out, where they would be, where we'd find them, and then we'd surprise them by them finding Cobra, a chilled sample of Cobra to try. And then they think, oh, okay, this is quite a nice lager. Maybe next time in a pub or a bar, I'll consider it. And we got into lots of new pubs and bars and into mainstream grocery distribution, and started to introduce the right pack sizes, the right pricing, etc., and the right formats for those relevant environments. So we redesigned the font that sits on the bar, the glass, the beer glass, in fact, the pack design as well, to make it look less like a curry beer and more like true to the core of the brand, which is this effortless exotic adventure.
It's very very distinctive, the branding for Cobra beer. And what sort of do you have some sort of metrics there? Did you I suppose it's a bit of a hard question, is it? Did you make a big difference? Were you able to measure the success of the marketing campaign as you did with Tropicana, like doubling the business? Was there a metric that you left with? Or?
Yeah, so we grew the business by 50% in 18 months. So we put 50% more turnover on. We grew market share, we grew penetration. So those were our key measures, really. Is are we gaining market share, penetration, i.e. are we entering new households, people who haven't tried Cobra before, and obviously revenue, the growth in revenue of the business. So we were I think at one point it was the fastest growing lager. And just as was the case with PepsiCo and Cobra, I was fortunate to work with a team of very talented people, very creative marketeers, creative agencies who developed the creative campaign. So that was, I happened to be in the fortunate seat of marketing director at the time, but it really was a team effort, and some great insights people, some great market researchers, some great innovators, and some great brand communicators.
It's great that you share, you tribute and you pay homage to your team around you. It must be a huge collective effort, and that speaks very well of your character, Will. You're a very mild-mannered, very considerate and thoughtful person, as I've come to know you over the last 6 months, and I can imagine your team having the utmost of respect for you. So you are watching The Biz Live. My name is Jamie Breeze. We'll see you in 2 seconds. Okay, so we're sort of at the halfway point here. I just wanted to check in with Sarah before we come to the Q&A section. Thank you for your time, Will, and also thank you for you at home or in the office taking time out during your working day, if you're in the UK, to take part in The Biz Live. My name is Jamie Breeze, that's Sarah Brooks, and here's our guest, Will Ghali, a marketing expert, a board-level advisor, and we're going to come to his experience as a COO and a CEO and the future for him, which is exciting, new, and based in the West Country as well, I'm pleased to say. So Sarah, can I just check in? Are we getting some nice questions coming in before we come to the Q&A round? Are they flowing in? I can see Barbara here, a new member of Evo, photographer of note, saying very inspiring. So how are the questions looking there, Sarah?
Oh, well, I'm not the only one who's finding Will's insights into all of this absolutely fascinating this morning. Just love the idea of I don't remember that campaign about Cobra, but Cobra obviously became so because I'm not young, affluent, and male. I think maybe I wasn't the target market, so that wasn't the point of it. But Cobra obviously really did take off, and I remember that fact. So I'm really interested in that. We've got a question here from Ian Porter. Do you think the consumer will be looking at brands that adopt the green agenda or carbon footprint going forward?
The short answer is yes. I think, thank you, Ian, for that question. Yes, absolutely. I think, consumers are increasingly interested in companies that behave responsibly. So companies that are ethical in terms of how they treat their people, ethical in terms of their sourcing, in terms of their recycling. So sort of ethical credentials in general, and then green meaning are they responsible and ethical in how they behave? And I think especially as kind of younger consumers, the millennials, etc., come of age and start to have disposable income and make brand choices, they are more and more interested in sustainable, responsible brands because they can see what's happening in the world in terms of global warming and etc. So yes, I think is the answer.
Thank you there, Will. Okay, so I'm going to come to you with a few more house questions, as it were, while Sarah continues to comment and moderate. Sarah, we'll see you in about 5 minutes' time to hopefully bring some more questions to the table and share with Will. So see you in a moment. Bye-bye, Sarah Brooks. Okay, Will, so it's just you and me for the next few minutes. I wanted to talk to you about your more recent experience. And Pukka is a company which I mentioned at the very beginning. I see, not just in the posh shops, but the health food shops. It seems to be a very healthy brand. And of course, today's theme is brand. How did you end up... what was your journey to end up being the COO of Pukka Herbs? And for those of you who don't know, what is a COO, please, Will Ghali?
COO is a funny title. It's a Chief Operating Officer. So I was sort of running the business day to day on behalf of the two owner founders, Tim and Seb. How I came to it is I'd worked for Clark's before for 3 years as the strategy director. And just when I came out of Clark's, I wrote to Tim, one of the two founders of Pukka, and said, "Hi Tim, I think you've got a really cool brand. I live in Bath. You're based in Bristol. I'm interested in possibly working with you either in consultancy capacity or just having a chat, or there might be a job." So it started off actually my relationship with Pukka as a consulting assignment for 6 weeks to help them write a 3-year plan. And then that evolved into, okay, can you help us implement that plan? And I stayed on for 12, 18 months to help implement the plan and help the management team act as a cohesive team and integrate rather than working sort of in functional silos. Again, very talented people there, great experts in marketing, sales, finance, etc. And really it was about bringing the team together behind a single vision for Pukka. And Pukka was all about connecting people to the power of plants, and it's making sure that Pukka as a brand, and it was a sustainable business as well, a B Corp, so an ethical organization, an organization that balances people and profit. And maybe we'll talk about B Corps in a second, because where I'm going is also a B Corp. So
of course.
Yeah. Sorry.
So we have your sort of next step, and I like the way we just kind of danced over the fact you're the group strategy director at Clark's, one of the most famous footwear companies in the world, hundreds of million turnover, if I know from our learned friend Graham Ash when he was the MD of Europe and UK. Going from a global brand like Clark's to what feels like quite a family, well, certainly a family-based business, a small, I presume, a limited company, a privately held company like Pukka. What was that change? Were you able to make that? Were you able to take the lessons you've learned from Clark's at that global level and take them to something like Pukka? I mean, did the two dovetail quite nicely together?
Yeah, I guess Pukka had global ambitions. And although it was a smaller business, 30 million turnover rather than 1.5 billion. It had global ambitions. It was in several countries, and it was competing against global players. So Pukka was up against Twinings and other brands, Tetley, etc. And it was about finding a space for Pukka that is distinctive, differentiating. Understand who the target consumer is, and apply the same principles of know your consumer, know yourself as a brand, and then innovate around that and start to communicate in a way that is attractive and relevant. Really, relevance is very important. Relevant to your target consumers. Healthy people, healthy plants, healthy planet. That's what Pukka was all about, and it just stuck to that story, and it worked. And then Unilever. So Pukka, the end of my Pukka story, was Pukka sold to Unilever in the end of 2017, and then Unilever brought in their CEO, and I moved on beyond that. But it was an interesting journey, lovely business, lovely people, and they're doing very well and continue to do well.
So we're going to come to a few questions in just a couple of minutes' time, but I've got one last question about your. I got a WhatsApp from you. I think it was a week and a half ago, announcing, because I knew something was in the offing, that you were going to be leaving another footwear company, of which you were the CEO for, again in the southwest of England, and you have taken a role now as a CEO of broadly I know we have a sector name for a green company, EcoSurety. Tell us about who EcoSurety are, where they're based, and what they do, and what you hope to do when you start in a week's time, is it?
Yeah. So EcoSurety, they're the leading UK producer responsibility compliance company, which is a bit of a mouthful. So what they do is they help businesses to become they look after the recycling obligations of businesses. So what they do is they source quality recycling evidence from recyclers, and they provide that evidence to manufacturers of products. So and they're a certified B Corp, and as I said, so B Corps are organizations that balance profits with purpose. And actually, EcoSurety's mission is to make change for good. So what they're doing is they're trying to help change the recycling industry, make the recycling industry more transparent, and connect recyclers to manufacturers, and actually initiate new recycling schemes. They've just, in fact, initiated this week a new recycling scheme for coffee pods. So if you drink Nespresso coffee, there's a new scheme that's about to go out. How to recycle those coffee pods. So really, it's about helping companies to invest their recycling obligations, their sort of legal, environmental recycling obligations, into ethical recycling schemes and sourcing ethical recycling evidence for them in the UK. Really exciting business. As we said earlier, it's a growing segment. People are interested in sustainable business and responsible business. I'm looking forward to. I've obviously met the team there. I'm starting full time as CEO on the 1st of January, but I'm going in. I'm starting part time in December. So next week, after lockdown, on Thursday, is my first day in the office to go and pick up my laptop and start to sort of roll my sleeves up and get going there. So very excited about joining that business and helping businesses to behave more responsibly and to make sure that their recycling obligations are met and they're met in a sustainable way.
It's a great company to be part of. As you know, I know a few of your now colleagues, I'm pleased to say, in a week's time, who I've known over the years through networking and business exhibitions that both myself and Sarah have organised. And in fact, some of your former colleagues have sponsored when they're at different global brands. So it's and of course, the city of Bristol in the United Kingdom is a place which is, in 2015, it was a European Green Capital. Of course, it's got a pretty amazing green credentials, quite progressive ideas about green renewable energy and so forth. So you're very much part of that sort of movement in Bristol, which has been around for a long time for sustainability. I would say Bristol is doing its best in that front. And you're based at the new development Finzel's Reach, if I remember. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah. So very, very. They recently moved into that location, it's a nice city. It's a green city, and It'll be fun. Again, I don't know much about eco-surety yet because I haven't started, but I know in terms of what attracted me to eco-surety was the fact that it's a business that is doing good, and it's a business that is helping the kind of organisations I used to work for to behave more responsibly and to move along that journey to become more sustainable.
Before we go to the viewers and those taking part, you've got some questions, and Sarah will bring them in. We've got another 10 minutes if you're good for time there, Will, please.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask if there's any sort of, I know this, we're kind of going back to basics here, but we have people chiming in from all sorts of different businesses. I said there's a principal of the firm with many tens of millions as a turnover, and there's a small to medium business owner there and watching. And for those who will be restreaming, for those who are perhaps watching later on LinkedIn, our pilot episode about 11 weeks ago has so far had 3,200 views, and on LinkedIn that's pretty good. It's, these are people who are taking time out of their day to watch something, and so we're really, really pleased. So hopefully we'll be passing that number with this program over time. So as a legacy to this conversation, with these years of experience at Tropicana, at Cobra, we haven't even touched on Danone baby food and all the rest of it, all these other roles and board level work, all the executive stuff you've done, would you be able to offer some advice to those who are in either running their own business, a solopreneur, or somebody who's quite senior in marketing? What sort of advice would you give about the future of marketing? I know that's a broad crystal to go with, but the sort of thing I'm going for. Where do you think marketing is going over the next 3 or 4 years?
I think marketing has probably continues to be what it has always been, which is about building relationships with consumers. And actually, we've now got more tools to build those relationships with consumers, because you've got social media tools where you can connect much more closely and much more individually with consumers. So I think it's about continuing that connection. And I suppose the best way of connecting with consumers is to be personalized. So, the ability through technology to personalize products for people. So, if you think of, let's say, a footwear brand, for example, if you could personalize a shoe to fit your feet, wouldn't that be great? Just as your phone is personalized, we've got lots of, let's say you've got an Apple phone, it looks the same as lots of other Apple phones, but it's personalized. It's got your apps, and you've managed to set it up the way you want to. So I think personalization is a key trend in the future for brands, I guess, would be, which is not will continue, and I think technology will enable that personalization to be greater.
I wanted to offer you a little vote of thanks. Earlier on today, I posted a company document, actually a certificate of incorporation for the new business, which you know about, Evo Ultra.
Yeah, well done. I saw that. I'm very pleased for you. Well done.
Thank you. Well, thank you for your help in offering some advice in those early stages. I guess a letter which I'm sending to CEOs who I know, and some of them I don't know, is actually technically the first point of marketing in a way. There's no logo, there's no website. There wasn't when I was penning that letter. And for you to kindly offer a point of view on that, very, very strong. And I just wanted to say thank you for myself and Sarah and the team behind Evo Ultra. Those who are just watching live, this is a new mastermind group monthly for CEOs of companies with a minimum of 5 million turnover and broadly invite only, and it's led by General Sir Peter Wall. So we have just a few minutes left, and we're going to have some questions. I'm going to come to Sarah in a moment, and you are watching, of course, The Biz Live. My name is Jamie Breeze, that's Will Ghali, and down there is Sarah Brooks. See you in a moment. Okay, Sarah, have you got some questions for Will and me?
I have. So delving a little bit more into what you were just talking about there in terms of trends, Richard Pimlett asks, what do you think will be the key challenges for brands during 2021 as we hopefully enter a post-COVID world?
Hi, Richard. Good to hear from you, and thank you for the question. The challenges, I guess, is justifying probably the premium. I think a lot of people will be. Sort of strapped for cash. Some won't. Some will be, have continued to be fine. But some, value will be much more important. So really justifying the value and justifying, if you're a premium brand, then why you should be paying more for the brand. And that comes, that's about product delivery, better product delivery, better service, if it's either a service brand or a brand that's got an element of service to it. So I think, the challenges for brands during 2021 are just the same, I think, as they have been before, but just that element of, probably dialed up is the value.
Great. I've got a question here from Robbie Staniforth. What are the key differences required when marketing for B2C versus B2B?
Oh, thank you, Robbie. So Robbie is one of my new colleagues. He works for EcoSurety. So the question, Robbie, is the key difference in marketing B2C versus B2B. I think they're very similar, actually. I think B2C, you're marketing a product to a consumer. B2B, it's a business to a business. And I think the principles of being very clear what you stand for, being clear who you're targeting, are the same. I think with B2B, B2B is much more one-to-one. So you've got to tailor the message much more to your customer. Whereas B2C, despite what I said earlier in terms of personalization, you can still kind of group a group of consumers together with a certain set of attributes, like healthy, wealthy, and wise for Tropicana. Whereas for B2C, B2B, you've got to be a little bit more tailored to that specific company that you're targeting. Increased tailoring, I guess, is probably the biggest difference between B2C and B2B.
Got it. Thank you. Question here from Emily Maggs. How do you think that social media and marketing has changed during the current climate for businesses?
That's a good question. How do I think social media and marketing has changed? Probably a greater level of honesty is required. So I guess brands have had to be a bit more humble and accept that actually people's lives have changed, and people are much more indoors and at home now, and their universe has shrunk, as it were, in terms of their interactions, and therefore that brands have had to adapt to that by offering delivery services, for example, and that sort of thing. So I don't think it has social media and marketing changed. Yeah, I think that's probably one of the big changes. I can't think of any other. So thank you, Emily. But I'm not aware of how social media and marketing has changed in any other way. Thank you.
Sarah, we've got time for another couple of questions, and we're going to meet Mark for a few minutes and hear about his new brand. And he's got a new website, which he's been working on, his team has been working on. So we'll be pleased to hear that, and then we'll wrap things up. So we've got time for another question or two. I can see something from Gideon Barker there from Profundo. He's a marketing whiz. So tell us about Gideon's question.
So Gideon Barker asks, what's your view on the balance between performance marketing and brand marketing? Too much focus on performance at the expense of brand?
Mm-hmm. I guess performance marketing being the kind of the web marketing and kind of getting people to come to. I guess it depends what kind of business you are. So if you're the sort of business that is very reliant on getting people to come to your website and clicks and transactions, and clearly that needs to be the focus. But you need as also to build the brand and be clear on what you stand for. So has the balance changed, or is the balance different? I don't think so. I think. Sorry, I haven't got the question in front of me, Sarah. Can you just repeat the question again?
It's what's your view on the balance between performance marketing and brand marketing?
I guess the answer is the balance depends on what kind of business you are. So if you're a very e-commerce focused business, then performance marketing is important. If you're selling through retail, then probably you dial up the the brand marketing more. Both are important, and what you can do is integrate some of the brand messages into your performance marketing by being clear on what your brand stands for. I hope that's I'm not a performance marketing expert, which I guess it probably is evident from my answer.
We've got lots of people
Thank you, Will.
luck in your new role as well, Will. So
thank you, Sarah. Thank you very much. Thanks, Jamie.
I'd like to welcome, for the first time in 7 episodes, we feel we can do this because the sponsors make the show possible. But it just happens to be that Mark Watts is the principal of Yumo Finance. Now, Will, you've met him. You've been part of a networking group with Mark and still are. And anyway, honorary. Let's make you an honorary member today. You are now bestowed with honorary member of Evo. But we've got Mark here, and he's created a new website. He's still working on it. I know part of the reason for sponsoring the Biz Live was to build awareness. Where does sponsorship? I'm going to ask a question before Mark can. How rude of me. Where does sponsorship come into your configuration when it comes to marketing, Will? Was sponsorship a big part? Obviously, you sponsored, I think, the Goodwood Festival of Speed or Goodwood Revival, was it? I heard, or has that been part of your marketing plan in the past?
Yeah. Yes, it has, and sponsorship is a key part of linking up with a brand, with another brand that shares similar values. In order to demonstrate, what you stand for, and linking into it. So sponsorship with like-minded brands is important, and I think it's a gateway to a new group of consumers as well, just as it is for Yumo Finance and this group of people on the Biz Live. It's a gateway to other people. So I guess what sponsorship can do is just put you in front of an audience. Bit like Cobra Beer and Dave, the Dave consumers, Dave people watching the channel Dave were potential Cobra consumers. So you put Cobra sponsor Dave, and suddenly you've got access to those people. Just as Tropicana sponsored the Sunday Times because they were sort of the healthy, wealthy, and wise consumers at the time, and we decided that the Sunday Times was a good way of getting exposure and access to a large number of people. And so it has a role in terms of associating yourself with another brand that you think will build yours and reinforce yours.
Of course, Mark's here. Hello there, Mark. How are you doing, Mark Watts, principal of Yumo Finance? How are you?
Yes, very well, and thanks for having me. Thank you.
You described yourself the other day, if you don't mind me saying, as more of a numbers fella. We had a one-to-one team meeting about some business, and I know that in the past you were a director of HSBC, a bank, and now you're the principal of this company, Yumo. Tell us a bit about Yumo, and tell us a couple of things about your brand and why you set it up, and how's it going?
Yeah, so just very quickly, Yumo Finance is a finance intermediary service. So we work with both businesses and property developers to help them secure the right finance for what they need. The whole reasoning behind this was identifying a gap in the marketplace where banks are potentially or likely to remove people from the lower levels of business, rightly or wrongly. There's a commercial argument for and against it. And we identified an opportunity really where those are the individuals that probably need the most support and hand-holding throughout the process of growing their businesses. And therein lies the opportunity really for what we're doing. The reason Will and I have spoken previously, brand is exceptionally important. Ultimately, we have access to the same lenders as our competitors. So it's what differentiates us from our competitors and how we deliver things. We're trying to sort of adopt technology, but we're not going to be a fintech necessarily, but how that hybrid between the old school banking and relationship banking alongside that of technology. So that's where our USP ultimately lies with what we're trying to deliver here.
You've got your new website. I know that's in the making. It's something you're spending a lot of time crafting from a marketing point of view. Will, is the website the most important part of a marketing campaign if you're a small business? Is that the first thing that people see marketing-wise?
If you're a small business, I would say no, because actually a lot of people will never make it to your website. I think your social media presence is probably just as important, or more important in terms of what's there on, whether it's Twitter or Facebook or whatever social media your users interact on or hang out in.
I've got a last question for you, if I may, just from the house before we wrap things up. And I want to say thank you to Mark and Sarah, of course. But a website. Are you able to? It's a curveball question. This. What sort of budget does a company, like a company that, like the ones that you have been the marketing director of, or indeed the CEO of, or COO of, what sort of marketing budget does a company have for a website? Can it be, a few $1,000s or sterling, or can it be hundreds of thousands or millions? Is there any sort of guidance for when a company starts a brand, that the sort of spend on a website?
You can knock up a website for sort of $5,000. And you can also spend $100,000 on a website with lots of functionality. And I think it just depends on what it is that you want that website to do. And that, you can, and I guess that's the creation of the website. If you then want to spend money driving traffic to that website, then that's a different thing. And that, again, the budgets can be endless. Again, it depends on your size. And I think probably I guess the key thing is to be clear what you wanted to achieve, and put some metrics in place, and then test and learn and change plan as you learn. That's the beauty of web marketing, is you can adapt and you can change and you can pull money and you can test things very quickly, and you see an immediate effect, and then just spend more money on the stuff that works and less on stop spending money on the stuff that doesn't work.
Yes. We've got just a few moments left. So very briefly, starting with Mark, your favourite brand and why?
I ashamedly admit to be an Apple fanboy, unfortunately. I'm sure that
that's all right
there as well.
Well, here's a secret. Your sponsorship, along with somebody else, helped us pay for the brand new Apple Macintosh computer we're using here. That's the truth. Ain't that right, Sarah Brooks? Do you like that? Very convenient. All very true.
People cite Apple as being one of their favourite brands. I know it's close to your heart, Jamie Breeze, Apple.
It is indeed, Sarah Brooks. And last but by no means least, we give the final word to the guru, the quiet, thoughtful master of marketing, who's about to begin an amazing role in a sustainable company, which is making great, a £30 million company, I think you said already, in turnover. Lord only knows what you're going to be doing in developing and making incredible things happen. So, Will, your favourite brand and why? And you can't name any of the companies you're about to work with.
No, but I guess I was going to say Apple, but as two people have said Apple, I won't say Apple. I'll say Pukka Herbs. Actually, Pukka Herbs is one of my favorite brands because it's the product is great. So the tea. I didn't used to drink herbal teas actually, so it converted me to herbal teas. So the product is superior, and then in addition to the product being superior in terms of taste, it's a business that is a B Corp, sustainable, ethical, and doing good stuff.
Will, what can I say but thank you so much. So it comes to that part of the show where we have to say a fond farewell. So first and foremost, goodbye, Mark Watts. Thank you so much for coming by in your busy day, and good luck with the website. Good luck with the not the rebranding, but the branding. And I hope that your association with Will and the show brings you great fortune. I have a funny feeling it will. And thank you again, Mark. And then Sarah Brooks, thank you very much for your time today, coming in, co-hosting, co-producing the show, coming up with the talking point. Could we please have a thumbs up or the little hand if you're on LinkedIn with the little hearts coming up? Can we have a flurry of those from those people watching? And if you're watching on the rewatching, you can still do that. And even if one of the 10,000th viewer, here we go. Barbara says she likes Dr. Martens. That's great. And Robbie Stanford, he's giving a eco-surety, and he would say that because he's a principal there. Hello, Robbie. I think I met you at the balloon fiesta a few years ago with John et al. So lovely to see you, and thank you so much, everyone, for taking part. So Sarah Brooks, until next week, until we talk in a few minutes' time to plan our next move with Evo Ultra, farewell to you. And then last, but by no means least, Will, thank you so much for sparing your time. The very, very best of British luck, as we say over here in the UK, for your new bold endeavours. Thank you so much for your help with Evo Ultra. It was a significant bit of help there, and I can't wait to tell you more, and who knows, maybe invite you to come along and speak to the group at some point. Caught you out there, got you on the spot. You don't have to say yes or no. Thank you so much indeed. And last but by no means least, to all of you watching, thank you so much indeed for taking part, keeping the flame of Evo's The Biz Live flying. And also, last but by no means least, thank you. I keep saying that, but thank you to our friends, both Will Ghali, but also Mark at Yumo Finance. Okay, so that's it. That's the Biz Live. Thank you, Will. A very fond farewell. Big thumbs up for Will as he goes. All those going up on the replay. Let's see those hands and those thumbs up coming along. Thank you so much, Will. Thank you indeed, everyone, for watching. So where does that leave us? It leaves us with our bit of branding. And it's the little video out, as we say. It's an end cap. And have a great, great week. We will see you in Tuesday at 11:30 next week for the next episode of the Biz Live with our guest in the studio, virtually or otherwise, to be confirmed. So keep a lookout. Have a lovely week. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.